Hello, welcome to the GameSpot Theater, everybody. Making games is a huge, complex process and something that scales exponentially once the bigger your game gets. And when you think of immersive sim games like System Shock and Thief and Deus Ex, which all have rich, interactive worlds with deep and interlocking systems, the thought of all the work that goes into their creation is just like headache-inducing. But today we're lucky enough to have with us a developer who's had an incredibly integral part to the creation of a couple of these games. We have Sebastien Mitton from Arkane Studios in France, who was the art director on Dishonored, and now Dishonored 2. A round of applause for Sebastien, please.
Thank you.
I'm also joined by my friend Daniel Hines from Sneaky Bastards.
Hey, everyone.
Who I'd say is a pretty big Dishonored fan. Would you say that?
I'm a small Dishonored.
You're a small Dishonored
fan. A miniature,
fan.
Yeah. I really enjoy this game. I've played it over and over again. We produced a 100-page magazine about the original game where I was lucky enough to interview key people from Arkane, people who worked on the DLC, and people who are inspired by the game in the community, people who speedrun the game, people who play it using trick tactics and all this really cool stuff. So I'm really looking forward to this sequel.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say that a lot of you are Dishonored fans, so Dishonored has, people like this game.
Yeah.
We'll be coming into play a bit more later, and we will be taking audience questions at the end of the panel, so please do think of them. But first, I thought we'd let Sebastien just take the reins and kind of give us an in-depth insight to his work, his method, and the art of Dishonored 2. Sebastien, I thought we might just start about you personally, like about who you are, where you got to where you are today, and just your whole deal.
All right. Well, I'm a good guy.
Yeah.
So I've started at Arkane 12 years ago. My first job was on Virtually 2 on Dreamcast. It was in '99, and that was my first job in the video game industry. But I was not quite satisfied about how they managed the art, the gameplay, the code, so I decided to go back to the communication industry.
Was it difficult working on the Dreamcast?
No, it was super cool. This console was amazing in terms of graphics and what you were able to do at this time. So it was quite surprising compared to the PS1 at that time. And then I've joined Arkane. I've knocked at the door. Raphael Cantoni opened the door, and he was a guy who focused a lot on immersive game, and they were preparing Dark Messiah, which was Arx Fatalis 2 at the moment. And I was really impressed by how they managed the first-person combat. This was the first time I got a sword in my hand and fighting guys, kicking guys in a great fantasy world. So I said, okay, deal, let's work together. And he allowed me to slowly, years after years, to explain myself. And that's quite important as an artist, to convey emotions, convey good quality of concept, research, etc. So that's what I did during these 12 years.
Yeah.
And so I worked on Dark Messiah. Then the economy, the industry was like this. So we had some issue. We did our own games called The Crossing, which was a parallel world. It was a cross-player game. It was really interesting, but it was super hard to find a good deal because people were afraid about cross-playing, etc. So we then did some contracts with Valve. So I did Half-Life 3. No. No, we did an episode. It wasn't not quite an episode. It was a full game.
Return to Ravenholm, right?
Yeah, Return to Ravenholm. We've worked on Bioshock 2 in Touquet Marine in San Francisco. That was
best Bioshock.
Yeah, the best. Yeah, to me, yes.
When you look at the industry now, do you think The Crossing would be easier to sell?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cross-playing. You play your story, and sometimes some AI are replaced by multiplayer guys. So it's surprising. Plus, it was cross-platform, PC, console.
Oh, wow.
It was working. We had the 2 studios already, Austin and Lyon, and we were playing together like this. So yes, and then I've worked on the Steven Spielberg LMNO project. LMNO, it's the code name. And during 1 year, I've started to do my own photo reference. I went on site, in US. It was super nice experience to do that. And then Bethesda, they detected us. They were really pleased by our approach of doing immersive games, great world, cool gameplay, strong level design, which is really important to us. So they've detected this DNA, and they wanted to work on a project with us, and then they acquire us. So now we are part of this family with idTech, the guy who do Wolfenstein, Tango with Shinji, Evil Within, and Fallout, etc. So that's cool.
Yeah, cool. Now you're from a fine art background, is that correct?
Yes.
How does that
correct.
fit into games?
You'll see later, but my philosophy is that you can do art for everything. And the way I think art at Arkane is that it could be for movie, comics, games. Then later you adapt to the core pillars of a game. So you can produce cool concept art, you can do your reference yourself, etc. It can go for different media.
Cool. Now I think without further ado, let's go into the art of Dishonored 2 and the behind-the-scenes look at this game we're all very excited about.
Okay.
Take it away.
It's because my notes are here. Oops, sorry, I have a phone call. Yes, Raf? Yeah, Raf is the boss of Arkane. Yeah, no, I cannot talk right now. I'm doing a panel at PAX. Yes, tell them that, okay. Yeah, it would be cool to open a studio in Australia, yes. I'm for it. Okay, see you later, bye-bye.
You heard it here, folks.
Well, yeah, so I'm really excited to be with you, facing you. I did a long trip to come here. It's 25 hours of flight. But it's really cool to be close to the audience, to the fans, to the players. So I'm glad to be here. I like your country a lot, and I like how kind our house is. So we'll start with, I will bring you to the behind the scenes of the project. So you'll see some footage from the in-game, but you'll see a lot of artwork, concept art, etc. And I forgot my clicker. Okay, cool. Okay, let's start. So what is it to Dishonored 2, visually speaking? So you'll see 3 chapters. The first is the spirit. To me, it's really important to have a spirit on top of your art. This is a philosophy. And the result of all of this is the style of the game. People wonder how we achieve this style in the game, and you'll see at the end of the presentation. So it all starts with the recruitment. I do it à la Ocean 11. I drink a lot of coffee like George, and I try to hire the best talents in the world, regardless where they are and where they're from. That way, my team is made of strong specialists. Here you'll see some examples from a few artists, which is just the tip of the iceberg, by the way. We are 70 artists at the peak of the production. So it starts in Russia. This guy who did that, it's not in the game, it's his own project. He's called Sergei Kolesov. And to me, he's one of the best illustrators I've met in years. Look at this cover we did for Game Informer. We don't aim to simply produce visual for games. That's what I said earlier. We create art. So applying what we've learned in our respective fine art school, composition, colors, perspective, and also we try to convey message each time we do an illustration. It's not just a piece of art that shows a building or a character only, it's an illustration. To me, Sergei is a killer illustrator, but he's also really good at portraits. He's really talented on different topics, so I try to give him a lot of work to achieve during the production. Now, Poland. This is Piotr Jablonski. I clicked the day I saw his Tomcat Brother project, because to me, I had a Karnaka in mind, and when I saw this, I was like, yeah, there's something to do with this guy. So it's the same project, but a fan did an animation on top of his illustration. So what I like with these artists, it's that they are a bit crazy like me, with a strong personal identity, and this is key for the success of your art. So look how well his style fits in our dust district. So now this is our art that you can see. And what I like is the way they translate my brief into a piece of visual narration. It's not only, as I said, just buildings or characters. So here you can see the guards, some civilians that flew, that tags the walls, who tags the wall. And sometimes it has a high romantic note like this. It's just a dead body in a trash bin, but it's cool for people at Arkane to see what will come next. This is the first piece of the game, by the way. It's before we put our hands into the engine. Clay sculpture now, that's quite a new process in the industry. So my idea is that I wanted to give a try to this fine art approach. This is close to what I've learned at school, by the way. Here's the master at work, Lucy Min. She's a French sculptor. And this technique allows me to secure the look, the anatomy, the style, how the light reacts on the clay. And this is after the 2D concept, the portrait, and this is before 3D modelers start to work in their softwares. And that way, I can unify the lineup. So here, it's just one piece, but when you have like 10 of them, then we take picture of them, we send the photo to the different artists in the world, in New York, in Romania, and we have the artist in France, the core team is in France. It's unified, so they don't go into different direction in terms of style. We also had the chance to get our paintings and sculpture displayed into a museum in Paris during 6 months, so that's quite cool, because when you do art for games, in general, it's on the web. Here it was like 6 months displayed on a museum at Art Ludique in France, in Paris. And here you can see the clay sculpture on the left versus the digital 3D modeling on the right. So as I play to win, also excellent references are key to succeed. The first page of Google Image is not allowed in my open space. That means that we gather a lot of cool reference from our master painters that we put on our data center, or we also have shelves that are lined with unique books. And that way we can analyze costume, gestures, anatomy, ethnicity, how the light reacts. If you look at the hands, there's a lot of story on this table because they are all from different origin, and that's what we'll do after that in game. We analyze also the life of the citizens, the anthropology, because to me, this is the people from Karnaka who built this city. This is not us, so we try to think through the mind of the civilians. And other examples, the one on the left, it's Leyen Decker. I really love the style, and it's really minimalist. This painting, by the way, is really small. And it conveys a lot of information about how fabrics will react, the weight of the cloth, the anatomy, how you deform an anatomy. So that's quite interesting, and it gives this certain flavor to his illustration, and that's what we will achieve later in the game. Well, so it's from different pulp illustrators like this that we take inspiration from. We have also dedicated websites on top left, top right. This is Sharpie. Sharpie is a website that store a lot of gigantic photography from the past era. So here it's London, 18 something, I guess. And it shows London before the bombing. So you see what you cannot photography nowadays. And the bottom part is sculpture. We analyze sculpture because it's a static object, and when it's well done, it conveys a lot of emotion. So if it's in a static mode, it works. That's a lot of information that we can get to do our own sculpture in the game, then animate it, and do some voice, etc. Seeking inspiration from our masters is key to us. Here it's Repin, and I really love the way he builds stories through a crowd, through people. This is really minimalist in terms of environment, but there's a lot of story everywhere in this painting. And so this is our inspiration, and this is the first illustration we did for the game. And we try not to reproduce the inspiration. It's just we analyze and then we digest, we train our eyes, and after that we work with the talents at Arkane, and they produce this kind of piece. So here you can see the Duke. You can see the early version of Karin Jindosh on his left. So the design has changed, but the information were quite there. You see this guy on the ground who has been beaten up by the guard. It gives you information on the era. And on the same vein, I repeat from Dishonored 1 that it's really important to go on site, to select location, and to go there to take photography yourself. You don't only bring back photography, you bring back notes, smells, IDs, you talk to people, it's really important, and then you share this with your team. So here it was a shooting in Long Beach in South Los Angeles. I was really impressed by the lighting. And it's not only the lighting, it's the way, it's the depth of the city, the rhythm of the streets, the specularity. There's a lot of information in each photo you take. Here it's different places. You have Malibu on the left, and more important, Barcelona on the right. My wish was to go to Havana, Cuba, but I was not able to do the trip, so I decided to go to Spain, in Barcelona, because the two cities are close in terms of architecture and urbanism. It's just that the level of decay, the level of the history is different. And here again, Barcelona. And when I take pictures, sometimes it's not just for art reference, it could be for level design. What we do at Arkane is that when we want to reach a rooftop, we don't just put 2 or 3 crates here. We try to use the environments. You know, it's not gameplay, you know, elements that we throw into the games. So here I can imagine I go, how do you call this, the white thing?
Awning?
Yeah, the awning, and then you can eventually reach a balcony and go to the rooftop. And as we have a no power mode, you should be able to do it with no power, so you cannot blink to the roof directly. You have to. So each playthrough can be done, you know, in different ways. It's a nightmare in terms of level design and art to justify everything, but in the end, the player feels that it's the freedom he has is really big, important. And we've also studied all colonies. So the idea for Karnaca was imagine, I told Harvey the first time, imagine Dunwall, but on a southern country, and we decided to go at the edge of the world. So it was important to analyze colonies like this, because this is the best way to understand how people from England adapt themselves to a warmer area. And here's the result. This is the final slide of this part. Good reference, notes and discussion. It ends up with this mood board and of the Bay of Karnaca. And here you can feel that it's not a location where you want to go for your holidays. It's still mysterious. It's not Kong Island, but it's a mix of a metropole embedded inside you know, a gigantic forest. We'll see later on the satellite view. Okay, so the spirit, it's also my team. It's a bunch of mustache, so it was Movember. As I said, we were 70 artists working in or outside the studio at the peak. To me, it's essential to sit in my team, in the open space. When I say something, they all hear what I say, and we get all the feedbacks at the same time. And everyone is like growing up in terms of quality and in terms of art. And I'm really interested in each individual. This is the only way to get the best out of them, because when we start a project, we know that we'll work on it for 4 years, 3-4 years. So it includes crunch, it includes pressure, it includes excitement. So it's really important to be like energized by your own team, and they get also your energy as the leader of the art. We spend a lot of time training to different techniques. We cherish our eyes, as I said, with cutting-edge visuals. All the book, we open them and we talk about like fashion or vehicle design. And one other key element of this journey are the brief and the high level of my expectation. I saw in the past on some project that the brief were really minimalist, and it led to a wrong, design. Then you have to cut and redo. So that's really important that you focus a lot on the brief. And here, you can see the importance of the brief regarding. I mean, it's just the arm of Emily. It's not like something really cool. It's just the arm, but you can see the silhouette of the cuff. You can see how a button can impact the plane of the arm. You can feel the weight of the cloth. And if it's well done here, then in 3D, you'll have a good level for starting a 3D model.
Being a first-person game, do you think the arms are actually super important? Because that's kind of what you see as the player, and that's kind of what's communicating character?
Yeah. Plus, we have the doppelganger, so we can see Emily, when you launch the power. We now have body awareness, which is, it's a semi-body awareness. You cannot see her feet like this, but when she moves, you see the legs, and it feels more immersive.
You can actually see Emily's collar when you turn, which is really nice touch.
When you're in the car ride going up, we saw you could see her big collar.
Yeah.
Is it tough with a team so big of 70 artists to kind of negotiate all the different styles and signature? They sort of want to have a signature look in their work.
No, it's not that hard, because when they get in the studio, then we brief them, we talk to them. I remember in the past we got two trainees that were at school, and we've detected that they were super. They were trying to do environments, but I've detected that they were super good at vehicle design, industrial design. And we signed a deal while they were at school to be sure they will come to the studio. And now they are leading some work 2 years after their contract. So that means it's good.
Cool.
Yeah. And this is the same with the accuracy of the feedback. So good brief, but good feedbacks also, because you iterate. Sometimes you get feedbacks from RV, from the narrative design, from the gameplay. You work in the middle of the whole team, every team. So it's important that it works. So accuracy of the feedbacks is key. And when I spot something wrong, they say, "Oh, you got me, guy," and they have to do it again. But it doesn't happen so often. So because now they are really good at, they know that I'm perfectionist. So yeah. Talking about the team, sometimes it's really hard, so that's why you see this picture. They suffer sometimes due to the quality at target, but once they see the result of their work, they really like it, and we all like it. It's important to share that, the way we work together, because sometimes, we have hard times, we have to modify stuff, we have to adapt to the gameplay, or we change a level, so they don't get, everything, and you have to explain them. So they suffer, but in the end, they are happy. So here, it's a mashup of Kubrick's Clockwork Orange and Singing in the Rain, so that's what happened in the studio. What does it say? Perfectionism meets lightness. So while I already explained, I keep a lot of friendly pressure on them. We have to reach this goal of quality, so we all try to work together and get it. So here you see the development of Emily with this philosophy in place. So we tried different haircuts. We tried to make the costume really fitted to her, so that she looked like an empress, but at the same time an assassin. Well, yeah, we spent a lot of time on the costume. Main characters are always hard to tackle, but we are quite excited by the result. The art philosophy now. I will talk about the philosophy with creating art, but for games, not just art for art. So first, I've said that a lot to the team. Art is not graphics. Because to me, too many people judge the visuals of a game and focusing only on poly count, texture, shaders, softwares. When I've started in the game industry, people were talking about softwares. They were hiring people based on the amount of software they knew. And to me, it was a wrong approach. I had different people coming with the knowledge of one or two softwares, but they were super good at like fashion. So I decided to hire them and train them to the software. I think this is the best way. They have to come with something strong, in them. So I repeat, art is not graphics. That's how I shake up the habits of the industry. No matter how powerful your engine is, no matter if you develop on console games, mobile phones, whatever, if your design is weak, like this one, for example, it's a failure to me. And your graphics won't save anything there. Okay, so let's try to see what we gain when we work with a philosophy on top of the art department. The benefits of a strong visual direction are multiple. So all along the production, it motivates my team. It motivates the other team of the studio. They can project themselves, visually where we go. It's super important to give them some visual. It keeps me full of energy to have like great topics to tackle every day. It excites our publisher because they see where we go as a studio and they can project their future campaign, how they will sell the game, how they will help us. So that's also quite important. We work as a family with Bethesda. And at the end of the day, the players enjoy a great and meaningful content with badass graphics. So now you understand my willing to give a boost to the content from the early stage and from a project, this is Corvo in Dishonored 1, to another project. This is what I call raise the bar. So Emily here in Dishonored 1 and Emily now in Dishonored 2. And I repeat it every single day like a mad guy. I know that sometimes it's easy for an artist to take a shortcut, take a photo on the web and try to reproduce it. And I'm super perfectionist, so I say no, trash, redo it again. And we try to have our own crafted world, so I don't want, information from our world. So this is the evolution of Emily in portrait mode. Okay, so Dishonored 1, visually it was cool. People like the design, the style, the world, and plus the gameplay, the story, for sure. Dishonored 2, that's what I said, let's raise the bar. So we raised the bar in terms of graphics a lot, because we've crafted our own engine, you'll see. Our top boys were good designs. All right, so now our Clockwork Soldiers raise the bar. In terms of movement, details, you'll see if you play the game, it's really impressive. And this is thanks to our freshly homemade engine. It's based on the Tech 5. We've redone the engine, not entirely, but we've kept like 30% of it. So we've crafted the engine for our own needs, and that's super cool to do that. We got the opportunity to move from a generation of console to a new one, so it was the perfect opportunity to do that. And while back in time we had to call the support of Unreal or some engine we've worked on, here you have the guy inside your studio, so you just have to work and say, I want this shader, I want, yeah. Well, so it's a giant wish list of stuff, and yeah, it was super cool. It was tough to do because during 2 years you don't see any lighting, it's all broken, the AI is all fucked up. It's so you have to project yourself, but also you have to motivate the team because they can be down super easily. They don't see the result, they launch, it crash. Well, so it was a kind of nightmare, but at some point we reached a a good, stable state of the engine, and we were able to like explode the eyes of everyone. So that was
Do
super
you
cool.
value those shifts in technology, or do you think working with the same engine for a longer period of time would be better for you guys as artists? Like, how important is stability in that respect?
It's a discussion we have each time we do a project, and we try to have everyone as a voice. And in terms of level design, it's really important to have a voice on the tools. In terms of gameplay, story, also all the tools they use. So that's not just artists that say, we want this engine. That's true that in general, the engine, the first thing you see is the graphics. But then all the tools you need to perform, like animation, to craft your own AI. We script not that much. We have a lot of systems, so we have to be able to create the system, the emergent gameplay, etc. So that's a discussion we have all together, and at some point we say, okay, this engine is better, so let's take this one. I know that they had the same conversation on Prep in Austin, and they've selected the Cry engine because it was making sense for the station, etc.
Is it tough to design certain objects like architecture or clothing when you don't have something as important as lighting at the very early stages, not knowing what something's going to actually look like in the world?
Yeah, it's hard, but we are used to that. This is the way we work. We don't create a Bible, game design Bible or art Bible. We have lots of materials for our eyes. But we create in an agile process. So we've put a lot of systems in a sandbox. We let them live, and slowly we refine. So it was hard, but it's close to our philosophy of designing games. We do every level at the same time, and then we balance. Then we say, oh, what about Emily? Because Emily was not planned at the beginning, so it's like a new character. And what about we say no to the outsider? Oh, we'll have to redo the level design in a way that it's functional, it's fun. So we are used to work like this. It's really agile. It's not like we follow a plan, from the beginning till the end. It's really organic. Okay, so the bar has been raised to a level where some people get confused whether they look at our CG trailer, this one. On forum, we got like discussion about, well, is it in-game, is it not? And this is in-game. So they were confused whether they were looking at the CG or the game. So for us, it was like a good feedback, like, okay, we really raised the bar. This is just to explain that, well, we did a good job on the graphic side of the project. So now, the serious stuff. All the previous points, this philosophy, the way we work, the way we gather reference, the photo trip, the teamwork, it results in giving the game a style. And it all starts at the edge of the known world, Karnaca. It's the main character to me. This is the city. We have the two main protagonists, but the city is, well, it's hard to explain, but it's a giant beast crafted from scratch. So the story is that at the very beginning, before the lore and the narration were developed by Harvey Smith, who's the creative director of the project, we've talked together about the carryover of our license. And because it was important to stay true to the original game. Harvey said some words. He said corruption, crime, oppression, disease, magic, decay. All right. And I said to him, sun, isolation, madness, El Dorado, frontier of the world. These were keywords that that became the visual pillars of the game. Let's move at the edge of the world and create something fresh for the players, so they feel they travel into the world. It's not like Dishonored 1.5, it's a real Dishonored 2. Well, so that was the starting point. And I think, yeah, we have a video there.
We're really just excited about doing another culture, another city. And so that's why we wanted to move down to Karnaca.
My wish was to go at the edge of this world in a city where the sun is impacting a lot the mood. It was allowing us to create some weird atmosphere, to twist things. I proposed Karnaca because to me it was Really, really different.
It's closer to the equator, there's more vegetation, it's more of a blended culture.
The atmosphere is way more dense. It's based on a photo trip I did in Long Beach, Los Angeles. Well, at sunset, the sun makes the atmosphere coming really thick. The sun is super weird.
As we talk about the dances, the foods, the songs, the different weather, how wealthy people would go take in the sun on the beach to sort of cure their maladies. One of the things we also talked about was the demographic of where the various people came from.
It's really important to build the history of a city. So we started 2 centuries before the action takes place. In my imagination, there were natives on this island. And then I imagined a wave of settlers from Morley, which is an island that we never visited in Dishonored. These are these tall, blonde guys. They are bulky. They started a small village with the natives. We decided to bring some people from Bristol, from Dunwall. They split the island in 2, making a huge canal. It was making a direct link to Dunwall. That means people from different countries working together, fighting together. It was a nice setup for the story of the game. So we were done with the shape, the landmass around the city. It was time to bring this industrial flavor that everyone was in love with in Dishonored 1. I was pushing to have something really unique. So that's why we have this giant peak. What if we have wind that goes through this giant peak and shape the wind corridor? My first idea was to set up silver quarries there. And what if we put a district there where people suffer? Imagine how they think and how they survive. In this district that brought a lot of different structures, like the windbreaker, the way the blocks in the district are shaped in diamond shape to funnel the wind, to break the wind. The giant mills, it ends up with something really, really cool, story-wise and visually.
We've focused a lot more on verticality. When you travel to Karnaca in Dishonored 2, you'll see the contrast on the rooftops. There are far fewer of the A-frame roofs, and instead you have a flatter rooftop. Obviously has gameplay ramifications.
It adds so much freedom to the original experience. Now you can access the roof with blade, with balconies, or you can take the stairs, or you can climb on the light poles. The fact that you have more space to play in, I think it's a good thing.
One thing that I like to think about Dishonored 2 and Dishonored in general is that some people have labeled it as a stealth game, an action game, but I think it's even more than that. It has some element of an exploration game. It's not only about the fighting, it's not only about the sneaking, it's also about like discovering the space, slowly getting your bearings, orienting yourself in the city, understanding how it works, how the people there live, how they react to different factions.
The fact that there are neutral factions also allows the player to explore without fearing to be attacked, which is a good thing because the artist has done such great objects, totally typical to Dishonored.
At Arkane, we focus a lot on the really small details in the world. You can sneak into an apartment and review what's there. For example, the typewriter that everyone is loving. People really love when it's functional, and now if you press spacebar, you hear the sound, you see it moving. We design each object so they can be built in real life. I really think that returning fans and new players will be blown away by the richness of this new city and this world 15 years later.
It's all said. I can leave.
Where can I get that sword?
Forgot it was so long. And see how they subtitle my bad English. All right. So back to the city. The video covered it a bit, but here we see how we focus on inventing this city. And this is a satellite view of Karnaca. We did this mesh in 3D because to me it's really important to understand, to give the sense of freedom of an open world. In fact, our game it's based on mission, but it's all connected together inside this city that you feel like it's a real city, a real open world. So yeah, it's already said in the video, but we have this wind corridor that is super cool because it triggers some specificities to a district. We have the rich district to the north. We have industrial district to the left. We have this canal, and when you play the game from a mission to another, you can see maybe the next mission or the previous mission, and you really feel inside something. each time you enter a district, you feel something different. It's all thematic missions in terms of narration, in terms of gameplay, and in terms of art. So this time in Dishonored 2, it's like this. Remember Lady Ball in Dishonored 1, it was special. Here it's every mission that are special like this, so that's really cool. And we always add some streets, so you'll see some more detail.
I know in the creation of Dishonored 1, you guys actually built out a lot of the world beyond Dunwall as well. Like you had sort of a world map developed.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, we still have it.
Was there any aspects of that that you sort of had to stick to because they were already done for Karnaca and Dishonored 2?
No, we had nothing for Karnaca.
Okay.
It was just a name on the map.
Right.
And I've just selected the southern point.
Spun the globe and went.
Yeah, pointed, dock. But that's really interesting to have the map of the Isle because it's different culture and it's a tool to create something crafted for your game or for this story or for DLCs. All right. So yeah, it's different point of view to give you a sense of the scale of the city. We don't do matte painting in game, so here it's in the software Maya. It's not in game, but we did this really early. This landmass, this city. And when I showed it to the level designer, the narrative designer, they were like, "Ah, that would be interesting to go there or there." So we did it first, and then we've pointed district or interesting area in the city, and we've set up the missions. That's the way we did it. We haven't done missions and then the city. So here it's a closer view. It shows a rich district. Some parks, some hidden harbor, like you can see in London, by the way. This was the inspiration for that. There's a small canal, there are dry lock. It's really interesting because it's not a flat city, it's on a hill, really organic like the European city. Closer, again, you can find a good piece of industrial design. But what I like with this visual is that it's cool in terms of art. All right, it's detail, etc., but it's compliant in terms of gameplay, in terms of circulation. When this level designer and gameplay department sees that, they say, "Okay, that's so cool that I want to reach the top." And you're like, "Oh no!" So we'll have to modify the cable so you can walk. We need another solution if you have no power because you won't be able to go there. So maybe you can possess a rat and go under the electric tracks. So you have many solutions. So to me, it's really a beautiful piece because it's just not art. It's compliant with every department at Arkane Studio. It's made of wood. You know why. And now at a street scale, quickly, you can feel the playground. Yeah, these are the first piece we did for Dishonored 2 based on the photo ref on Barcelona, Cuba, etc. And you can feel you can circulate from balcony to balcony. Well, already said, but this is the Duke Palace. We have a strong sense of history in our city. As I said, we've built the city centuries before the action takes place, right? So this was an old fort, and the new Duke, who's a kind of asshole, decided to do a pimp house, you know, a penthouse on top of the old fort with weird shapes, all in wood. So as I said, you know, each mission will be like really thematic and on gameplay, art, etc. So that's cool. We'll see a small video.
One of the big principles that we have at Arkane is to say yes to the player.
At the beginning of the game, you're faced with a choice between Corvo or Emily, and then you're faced with a choice of which pathway to take through this crazy non-linear space. Open the window, front door, back door, you know, like down the street, over the rooftop. And then on top of that, you're faced with the playstyle question. Do you sneak and try to avoid killing people? Do you sneak and kill as many people as possible? Do you just kick the front door in and fight your way through? In terms of the missions themselves, we wanted to do classic Dishonored missions where it's a highly defended location, it has its own character, it has its own nature, and you're going after a high-value target. But we also wanted to give them some sort of epic theming, either fictionally or game mechanically, so that it just created like a completely memorable space to move around in.
So for example, in Cracking the Slab, which is a level where you have the ability to go back and forth in time.
You can literally move back and forth very dynamically between two time periods. The present, when the house is in ruins, or the past, 3 years ago, on the night of a special event, when the house is posh, candles are lit, music is playing, guards are walking around. It's a very different feel.
The challenge for us was to create 2 and even 3 different levels that would be fun to play and where the player could go whenever he wants.
In the Dust District, you have these raging storms that come about randomly. You have 2 targets there, 2 factions with very different ideas about what's better for the future.
The other level that is very special in my heart is Clockwork Mansion, where the player can change the configuration of each room.
Where you could throw levers and move the walls, floor, and ceiling around. You basically reconfigure the house like a Rubik's Cube. So you can do that not only to open up new passages, but also to lock enemies behind walls. You're trying to reach Kirin Jindosh, the grand inventor for the Duke of Serkonos, and you're trying to unlock this puzzle box of his house, one layer at a time, to reach him. Another one of our very themed levels is the Royal Conservatory. It's like a massive museum with taxidermy animals that kind of gives you a view into like the Victorian idea of natural philosophy and science of the time. It just feels atmospheric and grandiose.
What happens when the player's decisions meet this story-rich world is what we call emergent narrative. You can encounter a situation and react according to your morality, to your knowledge of the world, or to your impulses right now. And then you create your own story.
If there's one thing that I want the player to feel about Dishonored 2 is that our missions, our levels, whereas they're not open world, they feel like open world.
Given that in one playthrough of Dishonored 2, you probably see 20% of the game, it feels to us like no 2 players will have exactly the same path.
We've put so much effort into having so many things to do, so many ways to do things, so many choices. I would like the player to feel like the possibilities are endless.
All right, it says a lot. Now let's enter a park. So the following pieces display the city, as I said, centuries before. It's all done by hand. It's pencil drawing that are that big. It's done by Laurent Gapaya. To me, it's one of the best world builder, inventor. He always mix time period and creates stunning piece drawing by hand. Now we enter a building and we feel the inspiration from the photo trip in Barcelona. Here, the inspiration is from Havana. There's a sense of how they manage the air to circulate inside the building because it's really hot outside. And in general, what we do is that this drawing also are also displayed on the walls in the game because this is the past of the city. So here we can also feel the circulation. It's stunning piece. Really like small stories. Here it's an old hunter. You see the dogs on the walls. Here we see a different interior. They don't have all the same style. Here you can see a cabinet of curiosity. It's really Victorian, so from Dunwall, but it's now in the south, so you see lighter texture, lighter wooden floor, how we manage the air and the sun inside. And if you look on walls in the game, you'll see different stories like this. We call it the legends. There are nothing to do with the story, the arc. It's just that I thought it was fun to let the inhabitants express themselves. They talk about this giant forest, so you'll see many paintings, depicting rumors, legends of the world. So here it's funny because we call them these props generic props, but they have nothing generic. We use them in different places, so that's why it's called generic props, but you can see the amount of details. We really think our objects, our vehicle, or characters to be feasible, in real life, so that's why we pay attention to details like this. Here you clearly see how we try to manage this level of details because while doing Dishonored 2, we faced something not expected. It's the amount of details and how to manage them. You can easily lose the player if he's overwhelmed by objects and stuff. So it was time to play with the lighting and drive the eyes of the guy. You know, it's not a movie where it's framed and static. You enter the movie and you have to play with the lights in a proper way to help the experience of the player. So yeah, Dishonored is way more dense. We pay attention to every details and make sure they fit the design, they fit the world. Here I really like it. We have inventors. Karen Jindosh is one of the main inventors. He crafted the Wall of Light, the Tesla, you know, all the technology that is more weapon. And here are the counterpart of it. It's civilians. We call them the haulers. This is a gang in the game, and they produce their own bolts themselves, so they steal objects. So here you can see the brief is at the bottom right. The game designer wanted a sound, a trail, an explosion in the end, so we've mixed a flute with a light bulb, like a Tesla bulb, with an insect trapped inside. So when you throw the bolts, you know, the insect is reacting to the air. It creates a light. The flute is doing the sound. So it's cool to work this way and have like great ideas just with small objects. So it's what happens during the production of our games. At some point, the world feeds itself. You don't have to take any more reference from our real world. You just have to go into a mission or in the streets and you say, okay, I want this, and I can create something out of this. So that's why you have lots of wood. The clockwork are made of wood because of this giant forest with vivid woods. We have the silver mine, so we'll see the early photography in Karnaka. It's made of silver plates, like the old tin type. So that's quite interesting. And yeah, that's why I say we try to think through the mind of the inhabitants to create them, because these are their city, their objects, their clothes. This is the same with the mind of a cabinet maker who crafts lines of furniture. We don't copy furniture on the IKEA website, we do it our own. So that way, every particular object blend really well in the world. So this is the typewriter people love. Don't forget all the weapons, multiple upgrades. It's kind of crazy because we can now upgrade in different ways. We have the black market when we can get, you know, upgrades. We have a non-linear tree for the powers. So it's way more advanced than Dishonored 1. And all with their unique styles. So this is from the Void, so it's a twisted object. This is the timepiece device to see to the past. Style and love, so this is about the characters, I guess. Another side of our passion at Arkane is to bring powerful and charismatic characters to life, even if they die quickly, so please try to play the non-lethal way. Just for my sake. So yeah, just some references. This time we have a way more a wide range of characters from different countries. We have mixed race. So as I imagine wave of settlers, first there were these natives, then people from Mali who are the kind of Afrikaners in our real world, then people from Dunwall, more British, and it created some mixed race. So you can see an Afrikaner mixed with a Mexican, you know, the origin. So here it's Casasola. It's a great photographer from the 90s, 20s in Mexico, and it's super cool to see Mexican people like this, you know, inside the city. To me, Mexican, it was like with a big hat, you know, the cliché. And I was really surprised to see this. So it was great inspiration for the costume, the way it's fitted, the way they want to look cool, you know, by that time. The skin, really important. So then, reference done. We do anatomy studies. So here it's aristocrat hands. It gives a lot of information. You see how we manage the body language. Here it's a worker. So my wish was that they remove their shirt and you see the mark of the sun on their body. It tells more story to me than just adding a like badass tattoo. I'm from this gang or I'm a sailor. Yeah, here it's really great. You know, it tells story. And okay, it's the slide about the fashion. Noticed many times in different projects that some people, when they create costumes or outfits, they put a lot of details to make it like stand out. And to me, this is a done thing. This is not the good way. I prefer to think about the guy inside the costume, create a really nice costume for him, but the costume is the background. This is the guy who is really important. So it has to be fitted to him. Here now we have short sleeve to show the sun, the anatomy. And I tend to say that I'm a descendant from a line of tailor and dressmaker, my grandmother, my granduncle. So when I was a kid, I spent time, you know, looking at them, trying to adapt, draw, and adapt their costume to a different anatomy. So this is what I bring, you know, this is my own story. That's what I bring to the game, the way we uncraft things, because people in the game can spend a lot of time, you know, looking at objects, people, etc. So that's why it's really important to me. I don't want to design costumes that are loose or for everyone. It's one costume per people. So the result is clothes that are well cut, adjusted, while hands, arms, legs, etc., and face are naughty, and I have a lot of stories to tell. And it's also important to focus on the silhouette. Our game, you have to plan tactics. You know, it's a stealth game, it's an assassination game, so you have to understand in the distance if this guy is really a civilian or if he has a gun. So each silhouette of our factions are adapted to what they do, and you can clearly understand. I hate doing like a lineup where at the end, you know, a level designer, game designer come to me saying, yeah, we should do this guy in red or in blue or in green because I don't understand. I cannot plan my tactic. Okay, so to summarize, we put a lot of effort and patience in the preliminary research. Then only we start concepting. So here it's the Duke and Emily. We have a strong connection with our character's background, which reflects in their anatomy. And thanks to our tech team and tools, we can develop our own shaders. We can push the limits of the graphics alongside our unique style, which is great. And should have removed this slide. And all of this leads to a rich, immersive experience. And when I say rich, but we've seen the video before, it's a level of richness that allows you to look to the past through a lens and eventually use this timepiece device to switch from present and join this guy into the past. Now we are going to show you a short video of this mission, cracking the slab. I think it's really short, so we can do it. Does not care that much of his body. I think we're we are good. We've covered a lot.
Yeah, cool.
What do we do?
I think
now?
we have time for maybe one audience question, if anyone's brave enough to run up and ask a quickie. Yep, go run to a mic.
Right, it's working. Definitely love Dishonored 1, looking forward to Dishonored 2, obviously.
Oh.
I was wondering, because obviously one of the great things about Dishonored is that you, as mentioned previously, you create a world that's much larger. That's what's immediately apparent to the player. We have this, little Empire of the Isles and Pandacia and this and that. We even have descriptions of, what the environment should look like and so forth. I'm wondering, as an artist, do you already kind of have an idea in your head of what, say, if you need to make a game set in, Tivy or Moli or Pandacia or somewhere else, do you already have an idea of what these places should look like, whether it's the architecture, the fashion, anything else, or do you tackle these problems as they come along?
No, I cannot, because when we started, it was 3 years after the first game, and then we decided to have Emily. And Emily was too young. She was 13 3 years later, so we switched to 25, so 15 years later. So I cannot project myself at every year of our timeline. So I don't know how Tivia looks like. We have some ideas, but you have to put a lot of work into it to create it. So I just have some glimpse of Tivia is more the Russia, so imagine like it's more cold, so how would they live? I have some idea, but you have to produce and work a lot, like you've seen in this presentation, to make it come to life. But well, yeah, that's why we have the Empire of the Isle. It's to allow us to eventually go there or do that or have people from there. That's all we have. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Great.
One more or not?
I'm afraid that's all we have time for. Sebastien may stick around for questions afterwards, though. But thank you, everyone. Please, a round of applause for our guest, Sebastien Mitton. Thank you, Sebastien.